All right, breaking news for the NCAA tournament. Oregon VCU, which was supposed to be played later on tonight, is now not going to be played. It's been ruled a no contest due to COVID protocols and issues in the VCU program. The tournament had obviously addressed and considered a possibility like this, and they determined in a case like this, it's basically a forfeit type of scenario. Walkover, no contest, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line, Oregon advances, the game's not going to be played. So in your bracket, Oregon moves on, VCU is out of the tournament, and this game will not be played on Saturday night. Let's bring in Chip Patterson, Matt Norlander, find out what's what here. Matt, what do we know about this situation other than what I just said, which is basically something happened with the VCU program. They're not going to get a chance to play, and Oregon moves on.
That's all we know. The NCAA and the Marion County Health Department controls all of the information at this point. We'll wait and see if and when we can get more from VCU later here on Saturday night. We almost made it through the end of the first round without having one of these issues, but we did not make it through the end of the first round. VCU is not going to be able to compete, which is obviously extremely unfortunate, but this goes to show you why the NCAA set up the protocols in place that it did in conjunction with local area health officials to prevent any kind of situation where you would have a potentially unsafe situation where VCU unknowingly could be playing with multiple players or coaches having COVID. We don't know the number. That hasn't been revealed yet, but this was the fear, obviously, with the tournament. Would we have any kind of situation where we wouldn't have a game played? And we do have that situation now, and it just so happens to be Oregon versus VCU. And so I feel terrible for the Rams. They deserve the chance to play. They obviously earned their way into the field via an at-large bid easily. And so now Mike Rhodes and his program, they will have to go home, and they will not be able to compete. This is, I believe this is a first, by the way. I don't think we've ever had in the history of the NCAA tournament an actual cancellation. Obviously, under these circumstances and COVID, it's never happened before. But in general, I think this is an unprecedented move and a necessary move on behalf of the NCAA. All
right, Chip, we're okay with this, right? I mean, look, it's not ideal, but it's better than not playing a tournament. And we consider this possibility, and everybody sort of agreed to the rules going in. So while we feel bad for VCU, we're okay with this and we move on. Is that fair?
I think that's a very fair statement, and I go back to the conversations that we were having as games were being canceled and teams were being removed from conference tournaments, where we say, if you consider all these games that are being played in this short time frame and you expand it to match what we saw in the regular season, the number of games that were canceled, postponed because of COVID-19 issues, they suggest that it was going to be very difficult to make it through 67 games without having at least one of these incidents. Now, I do think it's very interesting. Number one, we know from the NCAA protocol that it was 7 days of negative tests in order to be part of the travel party to make it to Indianapolis. Then once you got to Indianapolis, my understanding of the protocol was that if you could field, 5 players and have a coach, then you could go out there and play. Contact tracing could be something that comes into play here with VCU not being able to meet those protocols, or maybe it was another decision from the university or the local health department in the NCAA. Again, very unfortunate, very sad for VCU. But EK, I agree with you. It's a fair statement to say that we should have expected, based on everything that we saw within the sport of college basketball dating back to the beginning of the season, that going through 67 games without one of these incidents was going to be very, very unlikely.
Look, having almost everything is better than having nothing. And we've had a lot of great games. We're just not going to have this one. And as a fan, that's a lot better than what last year when we didn't have any tournament of any kind. Now, will this facilitate any new rules, changes, protocols? And for example, what if this happens on a Monday night when there's 2 teams left? Would they back it up? Would they wait a week and play it? Or is that team just the champs and goes out and cuts down the nets with nobody in the room? I mean, what if this happened on Monday afternoon of a national championship, Matt?
That question has not been answered by the NCAA yet. This exact situation, I would imagine, is going to prompt the NCAA, and let's be honest here, with its television partners, in your scenario, Eric, CBS is airing the national championship game, so they still have to figure that out. We know that this is the rule until the Final Four. We do not have an answer about postponement or cancellation for the final 3 games of the season, the 2 national semifinals and the Final Four on April 3rd, and then the national championship game on April 5th. We don't know what will happen if this is.
No, that's smart, and that's a good point by you, and that's exactly what I wanted. So basically, the rules are in place until the Final Four. And then we're going to start to look at it again, because once you have 4 teams left, if this happened to one team, you could wait a week. You could basically, almost like the Super Bowl, where you have like a bye week, and you could still play it and still have legitimacy if you got to that point. I get what you're, we're not saying that's going to happen, but we have rules until the Final Four. Will this facilitate, Chip, in your mind, any sort of ripple effects? I mean, look, I see coach after coach wearing their mask like a chin strap. Now, I don't know if they need them or not need them, because they got a chin, but like nobody's wearing their mask. Rick Pitino had it around his neck for like minutes at a time. I was watching, and I'm not blaming him. I'm not calling him out. I'm just using that as an example because, he's a Hall of Famer. You think this will have any ripple effects in rules such as that?
I do not think that this will lead to any rule changes with mask etiquette, but I do think that this has got to be very chilling for everyone around Indianapolis. All those teams, all those coaches, we've seen examples of players and coaches sort of bumping into each other, socially distanced, of course, but the fact that so many competitors in the 2021 NCAA tournament that are all in the same space around there in Indianapolis, this is the first team that's sent home. And I just think that it is going to be a human reaction to be very nervous and to be a little bit more careful. The ripple effects that I see are probably going to be the way that all of these coaches and players handle their business as they're moving about the hotel, as they're going from their hotel room to the bus, to the arena, bus, back to hotel room. I think that, if you were thinking about maybe sneaking out with a couple of your teammates, you might take a second thought about that after seeing what happened here. And again, an example of, no matter how tight the protocols and restrictions are, and the NCAA has taken extensive measures and invested resources to try and make this as bubble as possible, it is still not a locked, tight bubble situation, and the VCU is the #1 example of that.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you got to tell your kids, look, if one mistake, not being careful, it could put us in a situation where we're like VCU. And again, one other point.
I have it.
Go ahead.
I have info here. Yep. I have info from a source right now. Sorry.
Nope.
Source connected to VCU said a couple of positive cases came up in the past 48 hours. The Marion County health officials and the NCAA stated it was too risky for VCU to play. They had a positive case surfaced 2 days ago, and so that is where we are at. This is according to a source of mine connected to VCU, and. Yeah, that's what I have right now.
No, that's a good job. That's great. No, that's great. So a positive case. So according to a source associated with the program, a positive case in the last 48 hours, at least one.
I've got two positives.
Two positive cases in the last 48 hours. VCU, that's what the source says. And as a result, the health officials in the county said, we're not comfortable going forward and playing the game. So it is a walkover. It is a move on for Oregon, and VCU is out. Well done. Good job there. Appreciate the information, gentlemen. We'll keep you posted as this continues to go on right here on HQ. That's right. Best news, best tournament highlights, best analysis, everything you need to know. All you got to have is us, and you are covered. I promise you, even when they bust your bracket, we'll be here for you.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.